because Camacho, with his flair, well, he's a nice kid to know in person. He's a guy that you'd be annoyed at throughout his career watching him in the ring.
Well, he has not engendered a lot of support in a lot of his fights, clearly, because he's, you know, he's kind of a guy that it's been hard to root for a lot of fans. And now Duran, of course, the sentimental favorite coming into this fight. Good right hand by Camacho. This fight, let's be honest, at this juncture, it is an illustration of why Duran probably shouldn't be fighting and should not fight again. And it also should be sending a message to Hector Camacho that even at 39, his skills are eroding and have been eroding. And even though he's been able to beat the fringe people and have a 7-0-1 record, clearly he is not close to where he was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Somehow or other, fighters fight. They don't know what else to do, when to retire. They never feel the things that made them great. The split-second timing that made the difference between being a top 10, a champion, and the next guys down the line. They don't feel it going with age. And it happens to everybody. But somehow or other, fighters, they maintain the heart. They have the head, the heart. But the electricity from the brain to the limbs doesn't work the same way it did when you're in your 20s.
It happens with many athletes, but athletes in baseball and football who want to participate are often not able to. In boxing, when you're a marquee name and you're marketable and can draw people to an arena, as has happened tonight, or people to a pay-per-view, it's an entrepreneurial sport where you can continue to compete if you can pass medical tests. So you're not forced to get out of the sport, and that's the problem. Steve Carlton would still be pitching for the Philadelphia Phillies if they'd let him. He wanted to pitch till he was about 45.
And the thing that concerns me too, Al, that we haven't dwelled on tonight because it's a sanctioned fight, as Camacho taps him up a couple of times, the guys that get out fairly early in their career, like Hagler, and to a great extent Sugar Ray Leonard, although he came back a couple of times, they seem to have the money and the mental facilities and faculties that go with that. And the guys that continue in it one by one, they fall by the wayside, emotionally and physically and mentally, which I hate to see as the bell ends round 11. And we hope that situation doesn't happen with either one of these fighters.
Inside, I don't want the hand there. I want it inside, okay? Hard. Hard. The last one, Papi, time. I want a beautiful back leg shot in this one, okay? Time. I don't want it touching, so nothing in this round. The last one. Put everything you got in this round. Tú le puedes ganar 3 minutos a cualquiera.
You can beat anybody in 3 minutes.
You're the greatest. You're still the greatest. Thank you, man. You're still the greatest.
It's okay.
Roberto, 3 minutos.
3 minutes, Roberto. 3 minutes.
Te gana, he's all gone. But he's big. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. Look at all the hotels out there. All right.
Well, going to the 12th and final,
The last one.
it would clearly take a knockout for Duran to win this fight, and he hasn't had the power to do that. It's not going to happen. Here we go, the 12th and final round of the fight.
Well, it will take lightning in a bottle for Duran, and we think, unless somehow the judges would be seeing it differently, that would be surprising.
There's Camacho. He has his space. He taps him up with the right hand. But that jab in the face. Duran showing the grit that he's had, though. Hanging in there, ties him up. You can feel and see it on the face of Duran. He wants to be able to do something. And I talked about the electricity from the brain to the hands. And he wants to do it so bad, but he can't. It's remarkable for a 50-year-old man that he's lasted 12 rounds. And while there's been a lot of hanging on and grappling, for the age of these fighters, it hasn't been bad, Al, and it's been better than mildly entertaining.
Well, no, I disagree.
You don't think it's better than mildly entertaining?
It's not better than mildly entertaining. I have to be honest. I really think the problem is that they have not been able to fight each other at a certain level that would sustain the interest that we wanted. That's just an honest statement as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, however, the part that is interesting about Duran, and I share your opinion there, that at age 50 to just go 12 rounds is a rather extraordinary thing, even when you're not facing somebody who's young enough to do serious damage and a guy who himself is not as sharp as he would like to be. So that's a long time. And for anybody who's ever stepped in a ring and fought in a couple of amateur fights even, you would know that it's not easy to do that. So in that sense, it's rather extraordinary. Unfortunately, it isn't enough to make this an entertaining event, and that's the sad part. Not through lack of trying, but nevertheless, they haven't gotten it done.
Well, it's a situation that they wanted to do it, and they can't do it. And that, to me, hasn't surprised me. But different than your feeling, Al, seeing Duran fighting like this at the end of the 12th round of a championship fight at age 50, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bigger fan. I don't know. I doubt it, because you're a pretty good boxing fan. I'm glad I got the chance to see him one more time. I'm glad he didn't get hurt.
Well, I'm glad of that, too. I'm glad that we didn't have any bizarre incidents. And what probably would have made this a little more interesting had one of the guys even been sharp enough to show us something. Unfortunately, both weren't. In any case, it'll be a win for Hector Camacho. And how much he wants to continue remains to be seen. Duran, absolutely, and I'm a big Roberto Duran fan. I think he's a lovely man. Had a lot of contact with him recently. He's become a really funny and interesting, beloved figure in boxing, which you wouldn't expect. But it is time for him to say, no more fighting. Let's be a boxing personality.
Now's the real time for no mas. The closing seconds of what I still say was some entertainment and better than my landing. All right. You heard Al's opinion, but I was thrilled to be here to see it anyway.
Well, I think we're all, this crowd shows some enthusiasm for it. The fact that these guys could hang in there for 12 rounds, especially Duran, is interesting. And
I'm glad to see the crowd in attendance here in Denver. While we pointed out they're not a sophisticated boxing crowd, they love seeing the legends, and they've enjoyed it. And what more could you really expect?
And they've seen Stevie Johnson, their own lightweight fan here, so it's a lot of boxing fans who have seen some boxing. But yes, it's not New York, Philadelphia, or LA, where they would be even more hypercritical.
All right, we'll have the official decision. I've got it now 117-111 in favor of Hector Camacho. Had Camacho taking every round 1 through 5. They gave Duran that 2-point round in the 6th. I thought he might have got the 7th. 8th, Camacho started to turn it around again. Then Duran lost a point in the 10th round, which made it a 2-point round for Camacho. And Camacho closed out the show, winning the last couple of rounds. And I scored at 117-111. And I expect the judges will see it something along those lines too. Camacho busier, a bit sharper. Duran just couldn't do it. Didn't have the timing, didn't have the power. For a great part of the fight, his legs weren't there. There was one time in the 6th round where I thought it might get interesting. I got excited. The crowd was on its feet. And Al, you were sitting back, and don't tell me you weren't excited in the 6th round.
No, there were moments. Clearly, there were moments in this fight where they showed the ability to generate some interest. Unfortunately, they couldn't sustain it over too much in this fight.
Yeah,
and that is the issue. So, no question, though, that Hector Camacho did enough to win this fight and should retain that NBA belt, and did land a lot more punches than Roberto Duran. And of course, it's in the judge's hands now. Duran and Camacho jawing at each other, although Camacho's smiling. And now there's a hug, show of sportsmanship by both men.
The two of them going around, the crowd still whooping and hollering it up here, hoping for the unexpected, and it would be unexpected if Duran get the decision.
We might be surprised that it's closer than we think, but it shouldn't be.
I'd be very surprised. We'll have the decision in a minute. All right. And there's that picture, Al, that they've been working on throughout the course of the night.
Very Neiman-esque. That's not Leroy Neiman, but in the Leroy Neiman tradition.
All right, we're set to go. Michael Buffer has the scorecard, so let's go to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Levi Martinez scores the bout 114-112. Tyrone Short has it 118-108. Ed Kugler also 118-108. all for the winner by unanimous decision and new champion Hector Macho Camacho.
Well, Camacho gets the decision as we anticipated he would, and two of the judges had it very big margins, and one judge had it very, very close. But in either case, it is a win for Hector Camacho. And I think, to me, one of the most fascinating parts of the evening is yet to come. Hearing Smitty talk to both of these fighters, that's the part that I'm really interested in, to hear what they have to say about it.
Well, Jimmy Smith is going to get in a position, and we're going to have a conversation from these fighters. All right, let's go up to the ring. In a little while, we'll go up there. All right, Jimmy's trying to get the fighters, and as soon as he has one of the fighters, we will go up to the ring. And in just a minute, we'll be back and get those interviews because, like you, Al, I'm interested to hear if either one of them is ready to say, you know, I gave it all I had. I fought my heart out. I didn't think I fought like, you know, I know I didn't fight like days of old, and some of the beauties look on here at the Pepsi Center here in Denver. But, you know, it's been an interesting night of boxing. This one, to me, was a little bit more interesting than it was to Al. But we're going to find out what the fighters have, and that's going to have to say, and that's going to be certainly worthwhile hearing. All right, Jimmy Smith is moving into position, and